Laughter thundered through the house, wild, careless, and sharp as glass. The music below pulsed like a heartbeat I couldn't control. Every cheer, every burst of joy from downstairs wasn't celebration, it was a countdown. Mom's hand rested on my arm, calm against the chaos inside me. "It's time, sweetheart. You can't hide forever." I stared at my reflection, trembling. Perfect, wrong, and right all at once. The lipstick, the skirt, the soft shimmer of skin that wasn't supposed to be mine. "Do I really have to, Mom? Just look at me." She smiled gentle, merciless. "You look beautiful, Ethan. The world deserves to see you." And that's when it hit me, there was no turning back. One step out that door, and the secret I'd buried for 17 years would walk into the light. Downstairs, the laughter grew louder. I took a breath and reached for the handle. Her only answer was soft but firm. "It's time to meet the guests." I had been slipping into my sister's clothes for as long as I could remember, usually in secret, sometimes caught. At 17, you'd think I'd have learned to be more careful. But last week, Mom found me again, and this time she'd made up her mind. I wouldn't just hide in borrowed clothes. I'd wear them proudly. "You'll go to the costume party as a girl," she'd said. "If you're going to do it right. Emily and I will help." The idea terrified me, but resisting Mom was pointless. "You've got a week," she added, "to pick your outfit and your name." I already had one in mind, Hannah, but kept it to myself. Emily, my older sister, handed over the contents of her closet with the smug excitement of someone who'd just discovered her brother's biggest secret. "If you're doing this, you'd better do it properly," she said, her grin both teasing and kind. "Otherwise, they'll laugh. And I know you've wanted this for a long time, haven't you?" She wasn't wrong either. I gathered a few dresses, muttered a "thanks," and escaped to my room. There, surrounded by soft fabrics and nervous anticipation, I made my list. Makeup, shoes, accessories, the little things that would make the illusion real. That night, I went shopping, spending nearly all the money I had saved. By the time I got back, my bed was buried under my new identity. I'd read online about Trix's DIY breast forms from birdseed and pantyhose, and I tried them, adjusting their weight until they felt believable. Then came the waiting. 3 long days of imagining everything that could go wrong. By Friday, Mom took over. "If you're doing this," she said, "we'll do it right." She applied depilatory cream, leaving me smooth and bare from the neck down. After a shower, I stared at my reflection, stripped of every trace of boyhood. Wrapped in a towel, I gathered my courage, my makeup box, and went to her room. She watched, smiling faintly, then stopped me midway through foundation. "No, honey, let me show you." Step by step, she guided me, powder, eyeshadow, a steady hand on the eyeliner. When I looked up again, I barely recognized the reflection. My face was still mine, but softened, refined, almost glowing. Back in my room, she sat on the bed while I dressed. The bra, the improvised forms, it all fit perfectly. The pantyhose slid on smoothly, the waist cincher hugged my stomach, and when I stepped into the red sheath dress, Mom zipped it closed with quiet satisfaction. "Hair," she said, ushering me to her vanity. A few deft motions later, some spray, a pair of barrettes, and my reflection showed a girl with delicate waves brushing her cheeks. Jewelry followed, chandelier earrings, a short necklace, perfume, bright red lipstick. The transformation was startling. For a moment, I almost forgot to breathe. "Ready?" she asked. Outwardly, yes. Inwardly, not at all. But Mom took my arm, and before I knew it, I was walking down the stairs on trembling heels. The laughter below quieted for just a second. Eyes turned toward me, then drifted away, no recognition, no shock. I had passed. The relief almost knocked me over. Then Emily appeared, eyes wide. "Holy Ethan, you look amazing." Mom smiled. "Emily, meet your sister." Hannah. I froze. Hannah. The name I hadn't told her. It was perfect. Before I could react, Emily's friend Mark stepped forward, eyes bright with curiosity. And who's this lovely young lady? This is my sister Hannah, Emily said quickly, shooting him a warning glance. Hands off. Mark blinked, confused for a heartbeat, then realization dawned. I could almost see it in the widening of his eyes, the faint astonishment as he looked again, trying to reconcile what he saw with what he knew. Wow! Mark blurted out, eyes wide. Doesn't she look incredible? His voice was booming, carrying over the music and laughter. I'll say, maybe even better than you, Emily. That earned him a glare and a sharp smack on the arm from my sister. Be careful tonight, Hannah, he teased. Some guy's going to fall for you before the night's over. Hardly, Emily scoffed, grabbing my hand and steering me toward the punch bowl. The music swelled again, and I could feel my heart pounding with it. I'd invited a few of my own friends before this whole transformation had been decided, and I was dreading what would happen when they saw me. The last thing I expected was Ryan, my best friend since grade school, striding toward me in a pirate outfit, his grin as easy as ever. Without hesitation, he slipped an arm around my waist. Who's this? He asked Emily. This is Hannah, she said smoothly. Hannah, this is Ryan. He didn't miss a beat. Let's dance. Before I could answer, he'd already taken my hand, pulling me into the rhythm of the song. The warmth of his hand on mine, the strength of his arm at my back, it was dizzying. I wanted to run, but I forced myself to smile, to play the part, to move with him and not against him. You look familiar, Hannah, he said as we swayed to the beat. Have we met before? I hesitated, my voice softer than I meant it to be. Not like this, Ryan. He studied me for a long moment. Then I saw at the flicker of realization. His brows lifted, his mouth parted slightly. You're Ethan. My throat tightened. I nodded, expecting him to step away, maybe laugh, maybe walk off. But he didn't. Instead, his grip on me tightened. He just kept moving with me, calm, steady. You've done this before, haven't you? He said finally, his tone low but certain. The question hit like a secret pulled into daylight. I tried to laugh it off, but it came out shaky. Why would you say that? Because no one looks that good by accident, he said. You don't just guess your way into this, Ethan. You've practiced. He glanced past me toward Marcy, tall, athletic, dressed as Alice in Wonderland, clearly uncomfortable in her frills and ribbons. Look at her, Ryan said. She's the real deal, and you still look more natural than she does. His words hit harder than I expected, half compliment, half revelation. I suddenly saw the difference between pretending and being. Let's get some air, he said quietly. I followed him out to the patio. The night air was cooler than I'd hoped, sharp against my skin. The music inside muffled to a hum. He sat on the low brick wall and motioned for me to join him. Sophie, his ex, was there among the crowd outside. She glared as we passed, her jealousy so sharp it was almost satisfying. For a fleeting moment, I felt something I hadn't before, a spark of confidence, a strange, feminine pride. Looks like Sophie's not thrilled, I said. She'll live, he replied, his arm slipping around my waist. The gesture startled me, but I didn't move away. So, he said softly, how long have you been doing this? Dressing like this, I mean. The question twisted something in me, but I didn't lie. Since I was little, I guess. He whistled quietly. You really had me fooled. All these years, and I never had a clue. That might have been the kindest thing anyone had ever said to me. Want to catch a movie tomorrow? He asked suddenly. Jake's Diner is showing that new one. Could be fun. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard him. He's asking me out? My best friend? Ryan, you know I'm not. I hesitated, my voice trembling. I mean, why ask? He leaned in slightly, eyes glinting with something that wasn't just curiosity. Because I already know you, and because you look amazing. My stomach flipped. His arm around me felt warmer now, heavier, deliberate. How many times have you gone out like this? He asked. A few, I admitted, my pulse quickening, but never like tonight. You should do it more often, he said with a small, crooked smile. You're beautiful, Hannah. Before I could form an answer, he drew me closer and kissed me. It was quick, almost hesitant, but it sent a shock through me all the same. The noise, the lights, the crowd, all of it disappeared for that heartbeat. When I opened my eyes, Emily was standing at the doorway, smirking. Well, she said, folding her arms, that didn't take long. Heat rushed to my face. I wanted to sink through the floor. A few of us are heading to the city beach on Sunday, she said casually. Ryan, why don't you bring her along? Before I could object, Ryan grinned. We'll be there. As soon as she disappeared, I turned to him. I can't do this. I'm not ready for any of this, especially not in a swimsuit. He chuckled. Relax, Hannah. You'll be fine. I'll pick you up at noon. No, I said quickly. I mean it. I can't. I'll call tomorrow, he said, ignoring the protest, just in case you change your mind. And just like that, it was decided without me saying yes. Somewhere between the dance floor and that stolen kiss, I'd become Hannah in more ways than I'd planned. And there was no going back. Now I found myself cornered, damned if I went anywhere with Ryan, and damned if I didn't. If I went, everyone would see it as proof that I wanted to keep dressing like this. If I refused, they'd whisper about why I'd let him hold me so close in the first place. Either way, the story would spread before the weekend was over. All of this flashed through my mind in seconds. Emily's knowing smirk didn't help, nor did Ryan's hopeful look, the soft brown eyes that had always seen me, even before I wanted to be seen. Resistance crumbled. I nodded. Perfect, Emily chirped, far too pleased with herself. She darted back into the house, leaving me with Ryan. I can't wait to see you in a swimsuit, Hannah, he teased. Yeah, me either, I muttered, but my sarcasm sailed right over his grin. When Mom heard the news, she didn't look entirely surprised. I told you it would turn out fine, Hannah. And here you are, with a date for Sunday. And tomorrow? I said before thinking. Both she and Emily froze. Tomorrow? He asked me to a movie. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal? Emily snorted. If a guy asks you out twice in one night, he's definitely interested. Interested in what? I asked. He knows I'm not a girl. He's just being polite. Mom's brows lifted. Then why did he kiss you? That one hit like a slap. She hadn't known about that until Emily, of course, couldn't help herself. Wait, he kissed you? And you let him? And then he asked you out? Yes, I said quietly. Why? Explain it to her, Emily. I'm going to bed. Mom threw up her hands and left me standing there. Emily folded her arms, grinning like the cat who'd eaten the canary. When a guy kisses you and then asks you out, it's not politeness, it's interest. And judging by the way Ryan was looking at you, it's serious. But he knows I'm not a girl. Doesn't matter. Look in the mirror and tell me you don't get it. Half the people here never realized who you were, and the other half don't care. You walked in and stole every bit of attention those other girls were fighting for. Ryan didn't stand a chance. I groaned. I said no to the movie, and you basically trapped me into that beach thing. Please, Emily scoffed. You'll go. You want to go. You've been doing this for years, sneaking around, wishing you could just be yourself. Well, congratulations, Hannah. Everyone's seen you, liked you, accepted you. You're not backing out now. She was right, and she knew it. Worse, she enjoyed knowing it. Besides, she added with a wicked grin, you two make a cute couple. Thanks a lot. You're welcome, sister dear. That night, sleep came in broken waves. Every time I drifted off, I saw Ryan's face, his grin, his steady eyes, and wondered what it would be like to actually be his girl. Just a dream, I told myself. Just a fantasy. By morning, I forced myself back into jeans and a plain tee, trying to shake the feeling. At breakfast, Emily was already plotting. "You and I need to find you a swimsuit," she said. "I think I've got one that'll fit." "Later," I said, sipping my coffee. "I want to figure out what's even happening here." "Nothing," I added quickly when Mom looked up. "Doesn't sound like nothing," she said dryly. Then to Emily. "Care to fill me in?" Of course, my loving sister told everything: the dance, the kiss, the movie invitation, the beach trip. Mom leaned back, arms folded. "Sounds like you've got quite the weekend ahead, Hannah. Are you going?" I hesitated. "He knows I'm not a girl, Mom. What kind of trouble could I get into?" "Plenty," she said, her tone almost amused. "But you're old enough to make your own mistakes. Just don't come crying to me afterward." I still wasn't sure what that meant, but both she and Emily exchanged the same knowing look. "Let's go try some suits on," Emily said. "We'll find one that fits and hides what it needs to." "Emily," I sighed, "if you want me to do this, I need a minute to prepare." "Relax," she said with a laugh. "We're sisters, sort of. Come on." Up in her room, she handed me 2 swimsuits and pointed toward the bathroom. The first one clung like wet paint, emphasizing every flat or awkward line on my body. I stripped it off in frustration and tried the second. It was thicker, with a built-in bra and a short skirt that gave a bit more confidence. If I had to choose, this was the one. Still, the thought of actually wearing it in public made my stomach twist. "I've got something else," Emily called, rummaging through her drawers. "Try these shorts too, they'll look great on you." She handed me a pair of khakis and a bundle of fabric. Inside were some foam pads meant for shaping. Inspiration struck. Back in my room, I experimented swapping pads, adjusting the layers beneath the fabric until the reflection in the mirror shifted subtly. My hips looked rounder, my shape softer, my silhouette undeniably more feminine. The small success made me grin despite myself. The shorts fit snugly, hiding almost everything almost. I knew I'd need to be careful. One slip, one wrong move, and the illusion would collapse. Still, for the first time, I felt closer to something I hadn't dared believe possible. That the girl I saw in the mirror wasn't pretending anymore. That morning, the memory of a story I'd once read came back to me: a boy who hid himself so completely that no one ever guessed. The method had seemed impossible then, but now it felt like a challenge I couldn't ignore. I found the roll of skin-toned tape tucked in the back of the bathroom vanity, took a steadying breath, and began. The process wasn't easy or graceful. It took patience, a small electric trimmer, and a few deep breaths. When I finally looked in the mirror, the change startled me. The shape staring back was smooth, convincingly feminine, no trace of the boy I'd been trying to conceal. I dressed carefully, layering foam padding and fabric until the reflection looked natural. My body had taken on softer lines, rounder curves. The shorts Emily had given me now hugged my frame perfectly. A touch of lipstick, a pair of earrings, a swipe of blush, and the illusion was complete. When I walked into the kitchen, Mom nearly dropped her coffee. "Well," she said, recovering her breath, "you've certainly improved overnight." Before I could reply, the phone rang. She handed it to me. "Hello? Hannah? It's Chloe." Her voice was sharp, every syllable edged. "Is it true Ryan asked you out?" I hesitated. "He did, yeah." "Why?" "Because I've been chasing him for months, and then you show up and suddenly he's yours. I want him back." I blinked, caught between disbelief and absurd amusement. "That's really up to Ryan, isn't it? He decides who he wants." "We'll see about that," she snapped and hung up. I set the phone down slowly. "What was that?" Mom asked. "Chloe. She's mad I exist." Mom raised a brow. And what did you tell her? That she can have him after this weekend. She laughed softly. Sure, Hannah, I believe you. Emily breezed into the kitchen, her energy already spinning. She was dressed casually, shorts and a tee, hair perfect as always. Morning, want to get your hair done today? I have an appointment, and they could probably squeeze you in. That's not happening, I said. This is temporary, remember? Emily smirked. Temporary? That's adorable. You looked too good last night to just disappear. Besides, Ryan won't let you. Emily, I groaned. This is crazy. I just dress up once in a while, it's not who I am. She tilted her head, eyes gleaming with mischief. Oh, please. You love it. And Mom agrees. Mom, sipping her coffee, nodded as if on cue. She's right, you know. You've been pretending this was a game, but maybe it's time to see what it's like to live it at least for a while. Learn what it means to be a woman. The beauty, the frustration, the waiting, the effort. You've already started. You want me to live like a girl full time? I asked, half stunned. Why not? She said simply. You've already crossed the line, Hannah. Before I could answer, Emily grabbed her purse and my arm. We'll be late, come on! She drove straight to the salon, humming along to the radio as I sat in mortified silence. With your curls, she said cheerfully. Jerry's going to make you look incredible, maybe even better than last night. This is insane, Emily. Why are you and Mom pushing this? Her grin softened into something almost tender. Because we're tired of pretending you're someone you're not. You've been sneaking around for years, wishing you could just be free. Last night, you were. Everyone saw it, and no one laughed. Even Ryan couldn't take his eyes off you. Her words landed heavy, undeniable. I looked out the window, catching my reflection in the glass. The hair, the lipstick, the subtle curve of my body. The truth was right there, staring back. When she parked in front of the salon, she squeezed my hand. Relax, Hannah. Let's see what happens when you stop hiding. Emily's words cut sharper than she meant them to. You're enjoying this, she said flatly. Don't deny it. I saw how those shorts fit you. That doesn't happen by accident. You did something to look more like a girl, which means you want to. And that's exactly why we're going to the salon, so you can stop pretending you don't. I wanted to argue, but she wasn't wrong. I had worked hard to make everything perfect last night, not because I wanted to avoid embarrassment, but because, deep down, I liked how it felt. The attention, the grace, the reflection that finally looked right. I hated that she could see through me so easily. Fine, I muttered. But no one can know about this, Emily. Promise me. She grinned. Relax. Your secret's safe with me. At the salon, Emily disappeared to get her hair washed while I sat, trying not to draw attention. A cheerful stylist with auburn hair approached me. Hi, I'm Beth. You're Hannah, right? Let's get started on those nails. Nails? I echoed, startled. Your sister said you wanted them done. Come on, you'll love it. I could have refused. I should have refused. But Emily's words still echoed in my head, and part of me wanted to see how far this could go. Okay, Beth, I said quietly. She worked quickly, chatting about summer plans while attaching glossy extensions to my fingers. When she finished, my hands looked impossibly delicate. The nails shaped to neat almond points and painted a soft plum that caught the light with every movement. These are acrylics, she said proudly. You'll need to come in once a week for touch-ups. As the polish dried, another stylist waved me over. Hannah, ready for hair? I nodded and slid into the chair beside Emily's. Jerry, the stylist, examined my reflection with a knowing smile. You've got a great face shape. Let's bring it out. Warm water ran through my hair, then scissors whispered around my ears. Rollers, gel, a plastic cap, 20 minutes of quiet anticipation. When Jerry finally brushed it out, the mirror reflected someone new. Soft curls framed my cheeks. Bangs swept across my forehead. the style light and feminine, but not overdone. "Hold still," she said, and before I could react, after a quick cleaning and a click of the piercing gun, she placed small silver studs in my earlobes. Pierced ears complete the look. When Emily rejoined me, she gasped, "Oh, my God, you look amazing. If I didn't know better, I'd swear you were my sister." I caught my reflection again, those curls, the glow of confidence, and couldn't help the small smile that crept across my face. "Yeah," I said, "I really do look good." "Let's hit the mall," Emily said. "You need a better swimsuit, maybe some jewelry of your own." "I can't afford all that," I protested. She jingled a card. "Mom gave me hers this morning. Problem solved." And just like that, I was swept along again. At a local boutique, the racks were a riot of color pastels, patterns, sleek black one-pieces that shimmered under fluorescent light. I hesitated, still unsure what would even suit me. Emily vanished into another aisle and returned a few minutes later, carrying 2 small boxes and a grin that spelled trouble. "Come with me," she said, tugging me toward the changing booths. "Trust me." Inside, she opened one of the boxes and revealed what looked shockingly real. "Adhesive breast forms," she explained. "They warm to your body. Size A, perfect for you." I stared at them, speechless. "You're serious?" "Completely. Now take off the tee." Nervously, I obeyed. The adhesive was cool at first, then settled naturally against my skin. When I looked up, even I couldn't tell where my body ended, and the illusion began. Emily helped adjust the bra, and for the first time, I didn't have to fake the shape. It was there, real enough to make my heart race. "Now," she said, "try on that suit again." It fit perfectly this time, hugging my figure without awkward lines or gaps. My reflection looked effortless, complete. I caught my breath. "Wow," I whispered. Emily laughed softly. "Told you. You just needed the right help." By the time we reached Cindy's Palace, a boutique filled with lace and silk, I wasn't pretending anymore. I drifted through the racks, fingertips grazing soft fabrics, realizing with a jolt of both fear and exhilaration that I didn't feel like a boy in a costume. I felt like Hannah. The mall glittered with endless temptation. Everywhere I looked, there was something soft, glossy, or satin that whispered my name. Emily's voice cut through my thoughts. She stood by a rack of corsets, grinning like she'd discovered buried treasure. "You should get one of these, Hannah," she said. "It'll shape your figure, give you that hourglass curve. I wear one all the time." The display shimmered with satin and lace. They looked more like art than clothing, fragile and perfect. I wanted one before I could stop myself. "Fine," I said softly. Emily borrowed a measuring tape and circled me like a tailor at work. "White," she declared, grabbing a plain one from the rack. "Practical, goes with anything." From there, we wandered to a jewelry shop, rows of glittering color catching the light. I picked earrings, bracelets, necklaces, even a cheap gold watch that gleamed on my wrist. It all felt dangerously natural. "Mom said you should get a couple of dresses too," Emily added. "Let's hit a downtown diner." By the time we left, I had 2 dresses of my own, 3 skirts, blouses, 2 bras, and enough accessories to outfit a small boutique. My heart raced as the clerk handed over the receipts. Emily smirked. "Mom's card took the hit," she said. Back home, our arms full of bags, we stumbled through the door. Mom took one look at me and froze. "You look so different. Your hair, your nails." "That's not all," Emily interrupted. "Show her, Hannah." My stomach twisted. Still, I lifted my shirt. Mom blinked at the small, rounded shape beneath. "So?" she asked cautiously. Emily folded her arms. "Take off your bra." I hesitated, then obeyed. Her gasp filled the room. "Oh my God! You actually have." "Not really," I said with a grin. Pretty convincing though, huh? She stepped closer, eyes wide, until she noticed the faint seam where the adhesive met my skin. That's incredible, she breathed. How long do those stay on? A month, Emily answered for me. Then she just cleans them and reattaches. Mom blinked, realizing she'd been outmaneuvered. So you're committed, huh? Before I could reply, she added casually, Ryan just called. He's on his way over. Panic fluttered in my chest. Emily and I raced upstairs with the bags. She laughed while I changed, refastened my bra, and freshened my lipstick. He's going to lose his mind when he sees you in that new suit, she teased. I'm still adjusting to having a sister. This is a dream, I admitted quietly. But please, Emily, don't tell anyone. Hannah, she said, eyes glinting. Mom already knows. Why do you think she handed me her credit card? The doorbell rang downstairs. I started to move, but Emily stopped me. Wait, let him wait. It's what girls do. We make them want it more. I laughed nervously, but obeyed. A few minutes later, Mom called up. Hannah, he's here. Emily tossed me a new top, black, thin straps, daringly low neckline. No bra, she said firmly. Trust me. My pulse thundered as I slipped it on. It clung perfectly, revealing just enough to make me blush. Emily winked. You look incredible. Now go make an entrance. I walked downstairs carefully, one hand brushing the banister, trying to glide instead of walk. Ryan was waiting at the bottom, his expression shifting from surprise to open awe. I thought you looked good last night, he said slowly, but now, wow. Thanks, I said softly. Mom smiled knowingly. You two can use the patio. Emily and I have things to do. Ryan followed me outside, his gaze lingering just a little too long. Sitting across from him, I could tell he knew I wasn't wearing a bra, and that knowledge alone made me feel both powerful and terrified. Why are you doing this, Ryan? I asked finally. You know what I am. He raised his hand gently to stop me. You like dressing this way. Last night, you stopped hiding. That gave me the courage to say what I've wanted to for a while. My breath caught. What are you saying? That I'm attracted to you, he said simply. Always have been. None of the girls I've dated have ever felt real. But you do. You're not pretending to be someone you're not. You're just being Hannah. His honesty disarmed me completely. Ryan, I said, this can't work. I've changed a lot, maybe too much. I'm not like the girls you've dated. I'm not even sure what I am right now. He smiled faintly. You're you. That's enough. And as much as I wanted to deny it, the way he looked at me, the steady warmth in his eyes, made it hard not to believe him. I sat across from Ryan, my thoughts tangled in 1,000 directions. I began softly. I guess I want to be a girl more than I realized. And now that I've had the chance now that I am, I can't help but like everything about it. But being with you, Ryan, it would feel like a lie for both of us, wouldn't it? He didn't answer right away. His gaze held mine, steady, warm. Then he smiled faintly, as if my uncertainty amused him. I was afraid you'd say that, he said. But I don't care. You're my friend, always have been. So why can't we at least try? Why can't we date? This is ridiculous, I protested. I only look like a girl. He leaned closer, his hand finding mine. You're not just pretending, Hannah. You're a very attractive girl, and I intend to make you my girl, no matter what anyone says. The air left my lungs. I hadn't planned for any of this, not the dress, not the hair, and certainly not Ryan's confession. But now it was happening, real and unstoppable. My red nails flashed against his fingers, and something inside me gave way. I'd already crossed the line. My reflection, my voice, my heartbeat, they all belonged to Hannah now. What happens now, Ryan? I asked. He smiled. Now, you let me take you to dinner. Somewhere nice. And tomorrow, we go to the point. Ryan and I had known each other forever. But there had always been a quiet distance between us, a secret I kept buried. Now it was out in the open. I wanted to live as a girl, and he wanted to be the one beside me. In theory, it made sense. In practice, it terrified me. He looked at me with that same steady calm. "You've got guts, Hannah. Most people hide who they are their whole lives. You didn't. That takes more courage than anything I've done. You're honest about what you want. I respect that." He paused, his tone softening. "People can see what you've become, how confident you look, how natural. If you did this halfway, it might seem like a joke. But you didn't. You did it right. Me? I don't wear a sign saying I'm drawn to someone like you. But maybe that's what makes this real. When I take you to the point, I'll be with my best friend, and maybe something more." He rose, giving my hand a gentle squeeze. "Go get ready for tonight, Hannah. Make it unforgettable." And just like that, he was gone, walking across the lawn toward his house, leaving me breathless and confused. Mom appeared a few minutes later, leaning against the doorframe. "Trouble, honey?" "Ryan said he's attracted to me." I swallowed. "I never expected this, Mom. I didn't want it. What am I supposed to do now?" She sat beside me, her expression calm but kind. "You go out with him and have a good time. You two have been inseparable since you were little. Maybe this is just the next chapter. You're finally being honest about who you are, and he's responding to that. What's so terrible about that?" "But, Mom—" "Sweetheart," she interrupted gently, "remember what I said about consequences? You've been hiding this side of yourself for years. Now it's time to live with it." Her tone was firm, but not unkind. "You've been dressing like this since forever. You could have stopped at any time, but you didn't. You let Emily help you. You got your hair and nails done. You even, well, improved the illusion. You've done all this because you wanted to. So don't back away now just because someone sees you for who you are." Tears stung my eyes, and she reached for my hand. "I'm right, aren't I?" I nodded. She smiled softly. "Then own it. Ryan's taking you somewhere special tonight. Let's find you a dress that matches how you feel." I couldn't argue. I followed her to my room, still shaking a little. She closed the door behind us and folded her arms. "Now," she said, "I want to see how you managed to pull all this off." My cheeks burned, but I obeyed, slipping off my top, letting the shorts fall. When she saw how naturally everything fit together, her mouth dropped open then. To my utter disbelief, she started to laugh. "Am I really that funny?" I asked weakly. "No," she said, still smiling. "You look fantastic. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it. You look like you belong this way." That broke me. I started to cry, and she wrapped her arms around me. "You are who you are," she whispered into my hair. "So stop apologizing for it. Be the best version of yourself, and do it proudly." When my tears finally slowed, she pressed a kiss to my forehead. "Now, go get ready. Shave, wash up, and use that lotion you like. Ryan's not the only one who deserves to see what Hannah really looks like tonight." For the first time, I didn't argue. I slipped into the bathroom, pulled on a shower cap, and began to shave slow, deliberate, until my skin was smooth again. Then, I covered myself in sweet-scented lotion and stood before the mirror. The reflection looking back wasn't a disguise anymore. It was me. Mom had already left, but on the bed, she'd laid out everything I would need: lingerie, stockings, a corset, and a dress that shimmered like promise. I slipped into clean underwear and sat at the vanity, heart pounding, to start my makeup. I took my time, the way Mom had shown me, each brushstroke a quiet act of transformation. Foundation, powder, soft plum shadow, a trace of gray, a hint of coral near my brows. My eyes came alive, lined in deep black, lashes thickened with mascara, cheeks glowing with the faintest blush. I dusted powder across my shoulders, then began to dress. Foam pads went into place first, followed by pantyhose, the silky rustle sending shivers up my spine. The corset came next, white satin, delicate but ruthless. 11 hooks fastened one by one, and as I tugged the laces tight, my waist drew in, ribs pressing, breath shortening. When I looked down, I could see the curve of my figure taking form, sharp and undeniable. The dress waited, elegant and understated. I slipped it over my head and zipped it up, feeling the fabric close around me like a whisper. It fit perfectly modest above the knees, a soft square neckline that hinted at the shape the corset had carved. It was the kind of dress that didn't shout for attention. It simply assumed it would have it. Mom came in as I adjusted the skirt. "You look lovely, Hannah," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I just know Ryan won't be able to take his eyes off you." I said nothing, but she was right, he wouldn't. Gold and black chandelier earrings brushed my neck. A matching choker gleamed at my throat. Mom pressed a small ring into my hand, a delicate diamond that caught the light. "It was mine," she said. "You should wear it tonight." It slid onto my finger with the help of a little soap, snug and perfect. I stepped into black patent heels, feeling my posture change, hips lifted, legs elongated, a subtle confidence settling over me. Mom handed me a new bottle of perfume. "I bought this for you. Try it." I dabbed it at my wrists, my throat, the curve of my arms. The scent was light and floral, soft as memory. Lipstick matched the color of my nails, and my purse, small, neat, waited on the bed. I tucked inside my wallet, lipstick, and a few tissues, then turned toward the mirror. For a long time, I just stared. This was it, the dream that had lived in secret for so many years. The reflection staring back wasn't Ethan in disguise. It was a 17-year-old girl, radiant, alive, and terrified in the best way. Mom's voice broke the spell. "Wait here, I'll call you down." When her voice finally came, "Hannah, sweetheart," I stepped into the hallway and descended the stairs slowly, one hand trailing the rail. Ryan stood waiting below, dressed neatly, looking up with wide eyes and a stunned smile. His mouth opened, closed, and then curved into something warm and genuine. "I thought you looked good last night," he said, almost whispering. "But this... wow." "Thank you," I managed. Mom snapped a quick photo of us together before Ryan offered me his arm. We left the house, his cologne mixing with my perfume, and drove toward the river. Dinner at the corner cafe felt like a dream. The soft light, the hum of quiet conversation, the way Ryan kept glancing at me as if trying to reconcile what he saw with what he remembered. "You really are beautiful, Hannah," he said at last. I laughed nervously. "It's temporary, you know that. I'm not exactly Cinderella." He tilted his head. "Then what are you?" "You already know," I said, a little too softly. He didn't push. The rest of the evening flowed easily, dinner, laughter, a dance that made my heart twist in strange new ways. On the drive home, the car grew quiet. The city lights faded behind us until we were surrounded by trees and the silver glint of water. I knew where we were headed before the tires even crunched on the gravel. The point. I should have told him to take me home. Instead, I said nothing. "Hannah," he murmured, his voice low. He reached for me, and I let him. His arm slid around my shoulders, his lips brushing mine. My heart stuttered, reason dissolving under the warmth of his touch. Everything blurred: his breath, my pulse, the soft glide of his hand against my arm. The world shrank to the rhythm of that moment, to the strange, impossible sweetness of being wanted like this. When we finally broke apart, I was trembling, breathless, caught between fear and wonder. Ryan smiled at me, gentle, certain, and pressed something into my palm. His class ring. Tears welled instantly. "Ryan, we can't." "Stop," he said firmly. "Take it. Wear it. You and I both know Ethan isn't coming back. You're Hannah now. Maybe you always were." He didn't say it because of what had happened between us. He said it because he saw me, the real me, and accepted it without question. I stared at the ring glinting in my hand, then nodded silently. I slipped it into my purse. "Come on," he said quietly. "Let's get you home." And as the car rolled away from the lake, the girl in the passenger seat wasn't pretending anymore. She was real. Ryan's tone was calm, but there was steel in it. "Does she look like a boy to you, Tyler?" Tyler hesitated, his mouth half open. I, well, I didn't mean. Ryan stepped forward, his eyes narrowing. "You meant exactly what you said. And I don't care what you heard. Hannah is with me. So if you or your sister have a problem with that, I suggest you take it somewhere else." For a moment, nobody moved. Then Tyler shrugged, flashing a smirk to save face. "Whatever you say, man, but don't expect people not to talk." He turned and walked off, but not before giving me one last long, appraising look. Ryan turned back to me and took my hand, his grip firm but gentle. "Ignore him," he said. "He's all talk, always has been." But I could feel my pulse pounding. The moment Tyler mentioned Ethan, it was like the world tilted. The secret I'd worked so hard to keep felt like it was hanging by a thread. I sat down again on the blanket, trying to calm my breathing, staring out at the water as if it could wash away what just happened. Ryan sat beside me, close enough for our shoulders to touch. "Hey," he said quietly. "Look at me." I turned. His brown eyes were steady, kind. "You didn't do anything wrong. Don't let him ruin this." "I know," I whispered, "but Chloe's not going to stop. You know how she is." He chuckled softly. "Yeah, I do. But let her talk. Everyone here can see what I see." "What's that?" He smiled. "A beautiful girl who's finally stopped pretending." The words hit me harder than I expected. A lump formed in my throat, but I smiled anyway. "You really believe that, don't you?" "Completely." The rest of the morning passed more easily than I thought it would. We swam, laughed, and even joined a small volleyball game. Nobody said a word about Ethan or anything else. If they suspected, they didn't show it. Maybe Ryan was right. Maybe appearance and confidence really did change what people believed. At one point, lying side by side on the blanket, Ryan brushed a damp lock of hair from my cheek. "You're incredible, Hannah," he said softly. I laughed a little. "You said that last night." "Yeah, but now I know it's true." For a while, we said nothing. The sun was warm, the sound of the waves rhythmic and hypnotic. I closed my eyes and tried to hold on to that feeling, that fragile moment when everything felt normal. But deep down, I knew Tyler's words were still out there, spreading like ripples in the water. Chloe would hear them, twist them, use them. And sooner or later, someone else would confront me, someone who wouldn't stop at words. Still, as Ryan's fingers slipped between mine, and he leaned close to whisper something that made me laugh, I realized something unexpected. No matter what anyone said, or what happened next, I didn't feel like Ethan anymore. I wasn't pretending. I wasn't hiding. I was Hannah, and for the first time in my life, that felt right. Ryan's words hung in the air like a shockwave. He'd joined the army just like that. No warning, no conversation. One moment, he was the boy who had turned my world upside down. The next, he was talking about leaving it behind for 4 years, as if it were a long weekend. "You what?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. "Ryan, what about me? What about us?" He smiled, trying to sound calm, but there was a tremor underneath. "It's only 4 years, Hannah. By the time I'm back, you'll have finished college, you'll be the woman you've always wanted to be, and then—" He took my hand, his eyes steady. "Then we can get married." "Married?" I whispered. "Ryan, that's years away." "I know," he said softly. "But I need to do this, for me, and for us." I didn't know what to say. 1,000 thoughts raced through my head, fear, confusion, heartbreak, pride. He looked so certain, so determined, and all I could do was stare at him. He reached for me, his fingers brushing my cheek, and I felt myself giving in. I'd told myself that Hannah was just a costume, a phase, but sitting there in the fading light by the lake, with Ryan's eyes on me, that illusion shattered completely. He leaned forward and kissed me, slow and deep, and I melted into it, despite every warning screaming in my head. When he pulled back, his voice was quiet but sure. "You're my girl, Hannah. No matter what happens, promise me you'll wait." I nodded, though I didn't trust my voice. The promise wasn't just to him, it was to myself, to the person I'd fought so long to hide and finally let live. As the sun slipped below the trees, I rested my head on his shoulder and stared at the water, trying to imagine the years ahead, the waiting, the questions, the stares. But underneath it all, I felt something fierce and undeniable. For the first time, my life wasn't about what I was supposed to be. It was about who I'd become, and I wasn't going back. Ryan's hand found mine, and I froze. He wasn't demanding or rough, just quietly certain, as if this moment meant more than either of us had planned. I felt the warmth of his touch, the weight of everything unsaid between us, the confusion, the tenderness, the love that had somehow crept into something that started as a dare and became our truth. He leaned closer, his voice low and soft. "You're my girl, Hannah, always." That was the moment I stopped resisting, not him but myself. When he took me home, I didn't cry. I sat in silence, watching the familiar streets glide past, knowing that in a few hours he'd be gone, and that I'd have to face the world without him. Mom was waiting up. She didn't scold or pry. She just looked at me for a long time before saying, "From now on, Hannah, be careful. Protect yourself. Not because I don't trust you, but because men don't always think about consequences. You have to." I nodded. "Ryan's leaving in the morning." Her expression softened. "Then you'd better let him go with love, not fear." It took days before I could think straight. I worked through it the only way I knew how, by throwing myself into my new job, by pretending the ache wasn't there. Mrs. White, my boss, gave me a strange assignment: to visit a local specialist and evaluate his professionalism. The name on the card meant nothing to me at first. When I met the doctor, I realized he wasn't a general practitioner at all. He was a plastic surgeon, older, calm, with the kind of kindness that saw through masks. He smiled. "You're here about the changes you've wanted, aren't you?" I hesitated, but the truth came out. "Yes. I'm ready to look the way I feel." He studied me for a moment, then nodded. "You've already done half the work. Let's finish what you started." It wasn't magic, and it wasn't easy. But when I looked in the mirror afterward, something shifted inside me. The reflection no longer argued with the voice in my head. The woman I'd been becoming for years had finally stepped forward, quiet, certain, real. Months passed. My body softened, my shape curved where it never had before. Hormones turned whispers of change into something undeniable. My voice settled, my movements found their rhythm, my smile stayed longer. And then, one afternoon, Ryan came back. He wasn't the boy I'd kissed by the lake. He'd changed, broader, older, shadows under his eyes. And beside him was a small blonde woman, shy and cheerful. "Hannah," he said, "this is Megan, my wife." The words didn't break me the way I thought they would. I smiled, shook her hand, and congratulated them both. He looked at me the way a man looks at something he'll never quite understand, a mix of awe, regret, and pride. That night, I stood in front of the mirror again. My hair framed my face softly, my figure graceful in the low-cut dress I'd chosen for the party. I didn't wear it to provoke him, though maybe part of me still wanted him to see what he'd left behind. But as I turned, I realized the truth. This wasn't about him anymore. Mark, the new salesman at work, had asked me out twice. I'd said no the first time, then maybe the second. He was kind, funny, a little awkward. And as I thought about it, I smiled. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't chasing a dream. I was one. The song on the radio that night said it perfectly. I am woman. And for the first time, the words weren't a fantasy. They were mine. The end.